During the fall 2018 semester, I was taking online classes through a prestigious college, knowing I'd transfer to my hometown university soon. To expand my social circle, I joined Tinder and met a girl who seemed perfect. We shared common interests, and our relationship blossomed. However, after Thanksgiving break, I noticed a change in her behavior. Her sarcastic humor turned mean-spirited, and playful teasing became aggressive. Although there was no physical harm, the emotional toll was evident. I attributed her behavior to stress from upcoming finals, but the dynamic had shifted. We parted ways for winter break, staying in touch through daily texts, snaps, and occasional FaceTime calls. When the winter semester began, I moved into an apartment, and we decided to break up on the first day of classes. The distance had taken its toll on her, missing her family, friends, and pets. As a shy person, she struggled to connect with others in town, and I became her primary social outlet. The breakup was a mutual decision, allowing us to part ways amicably. After a rough breakup, I found myself feeling increasingly better with each passing day. Reflecting on the relationship, I realized there were several issues I had overlooked. As Valentine's Day approached, I felt a pang of sadness, having planned surprises for my ex-girlfriend. To shake off the loneliness, I reactivated my Tinder account, hoping to find someone to spend the holiday with. I matched with several people, but our conversations revealed they all had plans to hit the bars, which wasn't really my scene. That's when I connected with Daisy, who shared my preference for staying in and watching movies. We bonded over our similar interests and majors, and I was drawn to her charming description: shoulder-length blonde hair, cute glasses, freckles, and bright blue eyes. After texting for an hour, we moved our conversation to Instagram, where I asked if she'd like to hang out on Valentine's Day. Luckily, we both had flexible schedules, and our night went smoothly. We grabbed a Burger King, saw a movie, and took a stroll downtown. Things took a romantic turn, and we ended up spending the night together, as the snow outside made it difficult for her to head back to her place. Valentine's Day that year fell on a Thursday, and we slept in, enjoying each other's company. Little did I know, this chance encounter would lead to a memorable night and perhaps something more, a chilling encounter. I woke up to Al getting out of bed, but I feigned sleep, observing her as she walked to the bathroom. After a few hours, I awoke again to find Daisy missing from the bed. I searched for her, noticing her clothes still on the floor, indicating she was still in the apartment. A creaking sound led me to the corner of the room, where Daisy stood motionless, her back to me. I called out her name, asking if she was okay, but there was no response. I turned on the lamp, casting a dim light, and approached her. She didn't move or react as I gently placed my hand on her shoulder and said her name again. The silence was oppressive, and just as I was about to speak again, Daisy spun around with an unnatural speed, screaming and hitting me. Her face was devoid of emotion, making the encounter even more unsettling. I backed away, falling onto the bed as she continued to scream and hit me. After about 30 seconds, she abruptly stopped, grabbed her clothes, and fled my apartment, leaving me shaken and bewildered. I rushed to my front door, finding it wide open, and she was nowhere to be seen. I slammed the door shut, locking it, and was immediately hit with a putrid smell coming from the bathroom. The room was in disarray, with the shower curtain torn off, my medicine bag scattered on the floor, and feces smeared on the mirror. I called the police, and they dispatched an officer to my location. The officer asked to see Daisy's Tinder and Instagram profiles, but she had deleted them. I only had a single screenshot of her, taken from Instagram, but it was of little use due to the filter she was using. The police took a report and advised me to have a friend stay over in case she attempted to break in. I called my friend Leo, who had the same major as Daisy, and he came over to keep me company. I shared the entire story with him, and we checked over the class schedule, realizing that Daisy had claimed to be taking a small class that Leo was also enrolled in. However, Leo had never seen Daisy in class before. We watched a movie, trying to take our minds off the events, but I was awoken at 3 a.m. by someone attempting to open my front door. The attempt stopped after a minute, and when I looked through the peephole, there was no one there. My girlfriend and I have been dating for over 2 years now. I'll call her Hannah. We met O'Neill on social media after I commented on one of her Instagram posts. We started chatting from there. Eventually, I got her number and then we connected on Snapchat. After a week we met in person, we started hanging out right after the holidays in January. I was happy we became friends around that time because I dreaded being alone for the Valentine season. The loneliness is what I can't bear anymore. As Valentine's Day drew near, Hannah shared with me a disturbing secret. She had been dealing with a stalker. His name was Jude, a man a few years her senior who had attended the same college. They had met in a group project, and Jude had begun to follow her around campus. Despite his unsettling behavior, Hannah had never reported him to the authorities. What's more alarming is that Jude had discovered Hannah's home address and sent her a barrage of creepy texts, which she had ignored. Hannah revealed that she had intentionally not blocked his number, wanting to see how far he would push his limits. When I asked why she was confiding in me now, she explained that Jude had recently started contacting her again, specifically for Valentine's Day. As Valentine's Day approached, Hannah's stalker, Jude, intensified his harassment. Despite her attempts to ignore him, he continued to bombard her with texts. But things took a dark turn when he left a chilling gift on her doorstep, a box of Russell Stover chocolates, accompanied by a sinister text, "I hope you like the gift I left you." Hannah had had enough. She sent Jude a lengthy message, begging him to seek help and leave her alone. She also revealed that she was now in a relationship, hoping to deter him. But the question lingered: how had Jude obtained her address? Had he been following her, lurking in the shadows? I did my best to reassure Hannah, promising to keep her safe, but Jude's obsession only seemed to grow. A few days later, Hannah sent me a disturbing screenshot, a text from a fake number asking if the guy she was seeing was me. My name was mentioned explicitly, sending a chill down my spine. I felt a creeping sense of unease, realizing that I was now a part Jude's twisted game. Hannah was at her wit's end. Jude's relentless harassment had pushed her to the brink of calling the police. I reassured her that I would accompany her to the police station if Jude made another move. On Valentine's Day, Hannah and I decided to dine at a fancy restaurant. As we sat at an outside table, we noticed a suspicious figure lurking on a nearby bench. He wore a hat pulled low over his face, sparking Hannah's uneasy joke, "What if that's Jude?" We laughed it off, but our amusement was short-lived. The man caught our gaze, quickly looked away, and then hastily departed. Hannah's joke no longer seemed so funny. After dinner, we headed back to my rental house, eager to continue our Valentine's Day celebration. As we sat on the couch, things began to get more intimate. But a romantic evening was abruptly interrupted by a strange noise coming from the backyard. Hannah asked me to investigate, and I cautiously stepped outside, searching for any signs of disturbance. That's when I stumbled upon the unsettling scene. A stack of beach chairs had been knocked over, as if someone had deliberately pushed them. The eerie silence was palpable, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. As I stepped into the backyard, my eyes locked onto a tall figure lurking in the bushes. My instincts kicked in, and I took a few cautious steps forward. Suddenly, it clicked. I was staring at someone hiding in the shadows. The stranger quickly emerged from the bushes, moving with an unsettling speed that made me feel threatened. I took swift action, pinning the intruder to the ground as he struggled to break free. I yelled for Hannah to call the police, my voice echoing through the night air. The man beneath me continued to squirm, but I held firm, refusing to let him escape. When Hannah arrived, she took one look at the stranger and gasped, "Oh my God, it's Jude." The same man who had been harassing her with relentless messages and sinister gifts. But that wasn't all. I noticed that Jude was wearing the same colored shirt as the suspicious man we had spotted earlier at the restaurant. The police arrived, and Jude was taken into custody, charged with trespassing and stalking. Hannah pressed charges, and Jude was ultimately fined and convicted of a misdemeanor. A restraining order was put in place, ensuring that Jude would face severe consequences if he ever contacted Hannah again. It's been 3 years since that fateful night, and thankfully, Jude has not made any further contact. As Valentine's Day approached, my boyfriend and I had planned a romantic dinner at a cozy restaurant, but our evening took a dark turn before we even stepped inside. A strange couple was lingering outside, staring at us with an unnerving intensity. I nudged my boyfriend, and we quickly entered the restaurant, eager to escape the awkward encounter. As we waited for our table, the woman from the couple approached us, introducing herself as Mrs. Robert. Her husband remained silent, his unsettling gaze fixed on us. Mrs. Robert claimed to be a photographer, praising our appearance and suggesting we follow her to her studio for a photo shoot. She assured us it was just a short drive away, but her lack of business cards and the couple's overall demeanor raised serious red flags. My boyfriend politely declined Mrs. Roberts' offer, citing prior commitments, but the woman's parting smile was nothing short of haunting. We breathed a sigh of relief as we escaped to our car, but the encounter had left us both unsettled. We decided to shake off the unease and visit a nearby mini golf course. But as we played, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, and then the unthinkable happened. The entrance bell rang, and I turned to see Mrs. Robert and her husband walking in, their eyes scanning the room until they locked onto us. Mrs. Robert's smile was even more unnerving than before, sending chills down my spine. As we waited for our table at the restaurant, my boyfriend and I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. The strange couple, Mrs. Robert and her husband, had appeared at the mini golf course, their smiles and comments sending chills down our spines. We decided to leave and wait in the car, but the couple's parting words, Robert versus Walker, left us stunned and frightened. How did they know my boyfriend's name is Walker? We tried to brush off the encounter and enjoy our Valentine's Day dinner. But as we drove to my boyfriend's place, we noticed a car following us. We pulled into a CVS parking lot, and when we emerged, the car was gone. Relieved, we continued our drive, but our respite was short-lived. A loud pop sounded, and my boyfriend's car came to a halt. Both front tires had been punctured. My boyfriend quickly assessed the situation and rushed me out of the car, urging me to run into the woods. We hid behind trees and bushes, our hearts racing. My boyfriend called the police, and we waited, frozen in fear. The sound of a car engine grew louder, and Mrs. Roberts' voice echoed through the darkness. "You took too long." The car sped away, leaving us shaken but alive. The police arrived, and we reported the incident. Despite the investigation, we never found out what Mrs. Robert and her husband wanted or who they were. The encounter remained a chilling mystery. For years later, my boyfriend and I are married with kids, but the memory of that Valentine's Day nightmare still haunts us.